Welcome to the MLB Coast to Coast podcast, brought to you by thelines.com. Coming to you from the West Coast, Josh Lander, joined by my guy Mo Nawara in the Midwest. And we are looking at Monday night here in the MLB, kicking things off in this week with you guys with a pretty small slate, not too much to choose from, but we do have a couple best bets for you guys here. Make sure you are liked and subscribed to that page. Continue to follow along with us as we are bringing you these videos each and every weekday of this regular season. Also want you to head to thelines.com. Mo and the gang have plenty of great written content on there for you guys all summer long and headed into this fall season. Also want you to head to that odds checker that we have for you there on thelines.com. Can make sure you get all of the best juice back on your bets that you might be making in the MLB tonight. And as always, if you do still need a FanDuel or DraftKings account, head to fdpicks.com or dkpicks.com. Find those listings in your area, such as what we've got here on this small slate. No day games. We do kick things off with the Reds in Miami. Jesus Luzardo on the mound for the Fish, taking on Hunter Green. Even there on the money line, minus 110 for both squads. Scherzer and the Mets taking on Patrick Corbin and the Nats. Huge favorites for the Mets in Washington in that one. The Mariners, Marco Gonzalez taking on Domingo Germán in New York. Mariners are plus 160 on the money line, big favorites for the Yankees. The Diamondbacks and Zach Davies are taking on Cal Quantrill, and the Guardians in Cleveland, minus 155 on the money line there for the Guardians. Orioles, Spencer Watkins taking on John Gray, and the Rangers in Texas, minus 165 for Texas there. The Red Sox and Nathan Eovaldi taking on Luis Garcia, and the Astros, big favorites for the Stros there. We are going to talk about that one, but I believe we're going to be eyeing the total there. And then we got the Royals, Brad Keller in Chicago taking on the White Sox, Michael Kopech on the mound, minus 165 for Kopech and the Sox. Antonio Sensatella, I never say it correctly, taking on Mike Clevenger, why would I? And the Pods in San Diego, minus 200 for the Padres there. And we finished things off rather with Andrew Heaney and the Dodgers in San Francisco taking on Logan Webb and the Gigantes, minus 140 for the Doyers. We'll take a look at that one. In fact, let's start with that one, Mo. I know that we're talking about favoring the road team here in this one and the Dodgers. So kick things off for us with this game.
Yeah, the biggest thing that stands out to me when I'm looking at this game, honestly, is what the Giants have left in their lineup. Just so many injuries been piling up for them. Evan Longoria, Brandon Crawford, Thairo Estrada, and Jock are all on the IL. It's tough enough to beat the Dodgers when you got all your players. So 4 of your, 7 or 8 best hitters there out. That's a huge hit to them. The top of the lineup still looks pretty good just because of the platoon bats, at least while Heaney's in the game. Austin Slater, Wilmer Flores, and Darren Ruff. Those are pretty strong right-handed platoon bats, but it gets pretty ugly after that. I don't anticipate this lineup being anywhere near as strong as the one the Dodgers are going to run out there. And then on the mound, I think the Dodgers might not be as big of a deficit as a lot of people might think at first glance. I know Logan Webb is great, but man, Andrew Heaney has been incredible in a very small sample this year. Only 19 innings, but 2.4 xERA, 2.4 FIP, and 2.87 SIERA. Even especially when you look at his called strike plus whiff rate, that is elite territory, like Ohtani territory, 32.2%. It's really tough to fake that even in a small sample. That's the sort of set that does like stabilize pretty quickly. So I think it's like pretty believable how good Heaney's been this year. I don't think he's going to be like 2.4 ERA good probably, but something in like the low 3s, mid 3s. We've seen Tyler Anderson come in and have a similar success with the Dodgers. Like they just seem to be able to like get these guys to play up their secondary pitches and focus more on them. For Heaney, it's not a changeup like it was for Anderson. It's more of his slider, and it's been great this year. He changed up the shape and the way he throws his slider, and people have not been able to touch it so far. We'll see what happens as he builds up some more innings, but yeah, I thought because of the injuries to the lineup and how good Heaney's been, which I do believe in at some level, I had the Dodgers a little higher favorites than this, so I think playable up to like minus 150 here. I got minus 135 yesterday, and it's sitting minus 140 today, so still good for a bet, I think.
Yeah, no, I support it, and that's been the story out here in San Francisco for a bit. It's just the Giants struggling with that offense. We know it's not the issues of Logan Webb in any way, shape, or form. We've got plenty of great starts coming from these guys so far this season. It's really just the batting, which it's been, and it's something they'll continue to have to address until they get those bats in the lineup, especially with Posey gone and things of that nature. So, moving on to the other game we're going to cover in this short slate tonight, Mo, as we talked about. In the opening there, the Stros and the Sox are both pitching here. We are in Boston, as I said, and we are looking at we are in Houston, and we are looking at a total of 7.5 runs right now. I know it's been fluctuating around 8 or so. I know Eovaldi has been able to sort of mask his really poor pitching this year by his ERA not having been that low until recently. But if you were looking at his expected stats, this sort of regression from him is somewhat expected. So is that part of the reason that we are looking at an over here of 7.5 or 8 runs, depending on where you find it right now?
It's kind of shocking to see a total of 7.5 between Boston and Houston. Just a number this low with these two offenses in that park in Minute Maid. I'm a little bit stunned. These two teams, it was like 9.5 every game last year. I think when they played in the playoffs, like every total was like 9.5. I think there were maybe even some 10s. With very, very similar rosters, obviously. The biggest thing to me that I'm looking at in this game, though, is honestly Nate Eovaldi's velocity. He came off the IL, I think, like 2 starts ago, and he's been sitting 94.7, something like that. And while that's like a fine fastball velocity generally, it's not that good for him. He's been sitting 97 plus basically the 6 years in a row, something like that. So that's like multiple ticks below his season average. Pretty concerning, especially you wouldn't think somebody that throws as hard as Nate Eovaldi, you would think somebody like that has room for his stuff to degrade a little bit. But honestly, I don't know if Eovaldi does. His stuff has always been like not quite as good in practice as it looks, and just based on like his velocity and all that, like he's just kind of gotten squared up more than you would think for somebody who has that kind of stuff. So I think when he's a couple ticks down, I'm a little worried about him. I know that Boston is still shorthanded on offense, missing Trevor Story and Rafael Devers, but they still have a solid lineup. I would say it's like probably league average-ish. And then I do like that they hit the cutter very well. That's always really key against Luis Garcia. It's his best pitch. It's his most frequently used pitch. Boston is 7th against the cutter. And one other little thing, I like that both teams here are missing a quality reliever, I think. Garrett Whitlock and Ryan Presley. I'm not sure about their availability today after Presley threw the last 2 days, and Whitlock, he threw like 30-something pitches yesterday.
Yeah, for sure. It's one of those things where we're just really waiting for those expected numbers to catch up with certain guys, especially like Eovaldi, and that's what's happening in this one. So plenty of great offense to be expected in this game, and I will follow you on that one tonight as well. So that is all the time we have for you guys in this one. Make sure you are liked and subscribed to that page. Continue to follow along with us as we are bringing these videos each and every weekday of this regular season. So until we see you next, happy betting.